Hello world, welcome to another episode of Championship Mode Collective. If you're new here, please take a moment, hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with everything Championship Mode Collective related. Today, we'll be talking about a topic very close to my heart and an essence of my success: consistency. How to be consistent and how to remain consistent in your daily life. Now, if you've been here before, you know we've talked about how to be resilient, and for me, resilience and consistency go hand in hand. If you're resilient, it means you've been consistent, and if you're consistent, it helps you to be resilient when the tough times come. Without further ado, let's get into it. Why consistency? What's the big deal? Well, I think consistency is the glue to any type of success. Nothing great was ever done without being consistent. Consistency literally takes repetition into quality outcomes, allowing you to unlock a higher level of success. That is why consistency is important. Now, let's dive into the 5 simple steps to help you be consistent and to help you maintain consistency. Step number 1, finding your purpose. As simple as this sounds, this is literally the difference between you having longevity in your pursuits or leaving it by the wayside. Purpose is that extra source of motivation you need when things get hard, and it allows you to know whether you're aligning to what's important to you or if it's just something cool that you want to do. So purpose is really important in terms of like figuring out the first step of what you want to do, because when things get hard, you need something to refer to, and purpose most of the time is usually that thing for me. So I recently wrote an article talking about the power of a champion's mindset, and I touched a few elements on purpose, finding your purpose. So if you need to read that, check out the link in the bio. It will send you straight to the article, and you can get some assistance and guidance in terms of what we mean by purpose. Step number 2, focus on what you want to be consistent in. Is it practicing a new mindset? Is it starting and sticking to a new fitness program or diet, or basically changing something in your life? Whatever you want to be consistent in, you need to figure that out. And after that, the next step is literally holding yourself accountable by setting 2 or 3 goals or outcomes that are smart or smarter. If you want to know more about smart or smarter goals, check out the resolutions episode in season 1 of the Consulting Diaries, where I literally go into detail. But yeah, in terms of step number 2, you have to figure out what you want to be consistent in. That really helps focus your energy and sets the plan going forward. Step number 3, plan and track your effort. One thing that helps with consistency is planning and tracking your progress, your effort towards your outcomes stated from step number 2. This usually involves prepping in terms of what you've decided you want to be consistent in, how you're going to execute, as well as your learnings and your successes, how you're going to document them as you sort of like move through your journey, right? What's really easy for me is using my calendar to sort of like track and monitor everything. So for example, one of my goals for this year was the YouTube channel, right? Obviously I couldn't sort of like just start it, so I literally sat down. Okay, what do we need? We need a camera, we need a stand, things that I already had. I needed time, I needed effort, I needed content, right? Where do I get my content from? I had to figure that out. Where's the time gonna come from? I needed to figure that out. I put it in a plan in terms of saying I needed 2 YouTube episodes at the end of every month, right? And once it's in my calendar, I literally track against that. Have I hit the YouTube episode for this month? Yes, no. And then through the failures, we learn, and we sort of like use that to help figure out how far or how close we are to our goal. Step number 4, don't rush the process. Whatever you want to focus in terms of being consistent, don't rush the process. 2 things to keep in mind. Practice leads to performance. So we first focus on being good at practicing through practice goals, and second, we switch to improving our performance through performance goals. Take my journey into calisthenics, for example. So a friend of mine introduced me to calisthenics and I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool, right? Then lockdown happened and I went to stay with him, and then he was like, yeah, let's get into it. I was like, all right, okay, cool. Now, doing it initially was just really hard, right? Because it's all about body weight training, push-ups, pull-ups, all of those things, right? But eventually, after a while, focusing on actually doing the thing and learning the reps quite well, I became good at it, right? So that sort of like took care of the practice part. Then once I became good at it, I focused on doing it 3 or 4 times a week, at least 20-minute sessions to just sort of like start to increase my fitness level. So that's how I moved from practice to performance if we're talking about something like calisthenics or gym or fitness. A bonus of consistency is it positively impacts your competency of your chosen skill or area of focus, right? The more consistent you are in your skill or in your practice, the more competent you become. And as you increase your competency, you realize that you're reaching a high level and another high level. And what that means is 2 things. You have to increase your efforts to keep up with the pace, or increase the difficulty of the task that you're doing. So sticking with the calisthenics example, if I became comfortable 3 or 4 times a week, then I had to look at maybe doing it 6 times a week, right? If I was comfortable with 20-minute sessions, maybe I should look at 30 or 40-minute sessions, for example. Sometimes you increase your competency to the level where you have to rethink your chosen skill, right? So maybe instead of just focus on calisthenics anymore, I go back to the gym, or I sort of like do the showy calisthenics where people hang off jungle gyms and all of that stuff. I don't do that. I don't do that. Not yet. But yeah, pretty much you get the gist, right? Practice, consistency, competency, a high level of competency. Step number 5, final step in the process. Don't be afraid of a break in consistency. It happens to all of us. It happens to the best of us. In times like that, you literally have to focus on staying resilient and coming back stronger. Check out the Power of a Champion's Mindset article, where I talk about a few elements of consistency, as well as the How to Stay Resilient episode on the Championship Mode Collective. It also helps to add recovery routines into your plans, to consider times when things will be tough or when you can't always be as consistent as you want to. And this is why the tracking your efforts part of the process is really important, because what actually happens is you need to plan recovery routines into your plan. If you foresee that there are tough times coming, there are holidays coming, can you move up your efforts? Or sort of like, can you push it back later, just so that when the turbulence happens, you can still pick up and get back to it. So, to iterate, don't be afraid of a break in consistency. Focus on staying resilient and getting back stronger. Okay, let's recap on the 5 simple steps to help you be consistent and maintain consistency. Step number 1, find your purpose. Step number 2, focus on what you want to be consistent in. Step number 3, plan and track your effort. Step number 4, don't rush the process. And step number 5, don't be afraid of a break in your consistency. Once you have all these steps in mind, it's all about practice, practice, practice. The tough times will come, you will break your consistency, but remember, the breaking or the failure is a process of discovery and an opportunity to learn how to bounce back. Check the video on screen to learn how to use failure to bounce back into your life stronger. Alternatively, check out how we de-stress on Championship Mode Collective through the playlist of Reporting Live from the Gutter. Stay in championship mode.